I'd like to certainly commend Mr. Hooper, his department, for the outstanding work that they've done. And you heard internal controls, and he's put some good internal controls in place, and sometimes we don't like those, but the result of that is we've got a good clean audit tonight, and we appreciate your work, Todd, and your department. Thank you very much.
Very much so, thank you. Okay, are we ready to do the regular board agenda review?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to change part of the agenda, please, this evening. Executive session will deal with real estate rather than land acquisition, and there is no attorney-client. Looking at the regular agenda, Mr. Chairman and board members, item H1 is the second reading of changes to board policy BCBI and KCA public participation in board meetings. It's a second reading. The board has asked that an electronic sign-in or notification of that. We have included that in the policy from 5:15 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. prior to the start of each meeting, or an electronic sign-in sheet may be submitted no later than noon on the day of the meeting. The form is completed online, and it gives the online address. Any form received electronically after noon will be held until the next opportunity for public participation. So we have changed that item per the board's request, and that's item H1, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions?
Item H2, board members, is the second reading of board policy ABCDA, unexpired term fulfillment. And the policy reads, in accordance with state law and local acts of the Georgia General Assembly. That's the change to that policy, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Dr. Hartley.
H3, approval of changes to board policy GAE, parentheses A, complaints and grievances, specifically addressing non-certified employees. Essentially, board members, this is the second reading, and it gives non-certified employees an avenue of appeal.
Questions? Dr. Hartley.
Item H4, approval of changes to board policy IHA-R, grading system. This is the first reading, and Mr. Gottwald, the Director of Secondary Education, has worked with the principals, and the state has given us a little leeway in the policy, but we're asking that the end of course test final exam score be counted as 20% of the final grade.
Questions?
Item H5 is Rollins Atlanta Speech School. We're asking for their support to train our pre-K teachers in integrated literacy strategies and skills across the curriculum. This is funded through our Striving Readers grant, and that's support that we need for our teachers to be able to better emphasize our reading at that level.
Questions from board members?
Item H6, board members, is approval of bus purchases. We sent out information or an RFP and got information back from Russ Truck Center, Yancey Bus Sales and Service, and Thomas Built Buses. We asked to purchase 7 buses. You see the amount there of $97,762.54 each. And you have 3 different funding sources, one from SPLOST, one from bond funds that Mr. Elrod has worked hard to find a way to get some money from the state with regard to bonds to help replace our buses. And then the state gives us some replacement funds. I ask you to look at the bid tabulation on the next page, and it shows Russ Truck Centers, which is International Buses, as the person that we would like to award this bid to. And you certainly see, board members, and for the audience, that they were not the lowest bid. The justification, you see some an attachment to that as well. And this is Tim Cox, our fleet manager, was a big part of working with us in this agenda. But a 10-year, 150,000 mile engine warranty is included in this package. It is not available with the other vendors. Our entire fleet consists of buses that have wet sleeve engines. Board members, if you don't know, if an engine fails or blows up, as we call it, They're very expensive to fix. Non-wet sleeve engine is probably around $12,000. A wet sleeve engine is about $3,000. Air conditioning, that was an issue for us as well. The majority of the buses that have AC are equipped with Thermo King units, and that's the unit that we prefer. The Bluebird buses and Thomas buses require DEF liquid. I don't know if you want to tell us what that is, Jody, but anyway, it's added every service day. This liquid is part of the emissions equipment for their bus. International Corporation does not require DEF as part of their emissions control systems. They have that really built in, so that's some additional savings that we have by not providing that liquid. Present, we only have in stock are buses that are one brand, that's the wet sleeve engine, and our mechanics are fully trained on those. So rather than learn how to work on another engine, the wet sleeve engine is, as you see, more cost effective for us. This company was the only company that met our bid specifications. When you take the 10-year warranty that is about $4,000 and the wet sleeve engine of $1,850, the bid is really comparable to what the others have bid when you take those units out. You have all the information from the bus company in the agenda item, but that's the justification for that bid.
Jody, don't most school systems try to keep consistent with their buses so that they...
The majority of the folks really, well, everybody wants to do that, you know, in a lot of cases it's, you know, the way the bid process works, low bid, but just like Dr. Harper said, if you put IC on a level playing field and compare their exact requirements to the other two, they would actually be the lowest bid amongst the two. Those two upgrades, the 10-year warranty and the specific type engine is what separates the cost, makes the cost a little more for it than the other two.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Am I remembering correctly that we received some grant funding?
Yeah, 254,000 of the total funding came from two separate EPD grants that we've got. And a part of this, as we get those new 7 buses in, part of the agreement to obtain that money is we've got to totally disable 7 of our older buses that we've already identified which ones that we're going to do, and EPD has agreed to that. So there was some stipulations to those fundings, but it was something that was well worthwhile.
So if somebody wants to buy a school bus, we'll have some.
It'll have
That's
a hole
scrap.
drilled in the block and the chassis will be cut in half, but they can buy it after that.
Thank you, Jody. I was going to ask you to tell us what that meant to disabled buses. Mr. Chairman and board members, the next item is H7, the new band building addition to South Central Middle School. We had several bidders, and to recommend the approval of Womack, Lewis, and Smith. They were the low bidder on this project. Board members, I know that y'all have been to that building, and we have several issues with that band room. Whenever the band is playing, the principal can't talk on the phone because it's adjacent to his office. Miss Smith has a premier program, and she can't fit all of her kids in the band room. But unfortunately, the design of that building was such to put that band room where it really shouldn't be. But we really need another band room there. I didn't like the price. This is the second time it's been out for bid, Mr. Chairman and board members, and you see the bid tabulation on the second page there. But furniture for that building, we're going to take the furniture that's in our existing band room and move it into that classroom.
Questions? And it is a local vendor.
Yes, sir. Womack, Lewis, and Smith is a local vendor.
Dr. Harper?
Item H8 is approval of furnishings for the new Adairsville Middle School. The list of the furnishings is included in your packet, and that's $794,388.
Questions? Dr. Harper?
The next item is approval of GSB legislative positions. Mr. Chairman and board members, as you know, at the meeting in June of 2012, the Delegate Assembly made some decisions and voted on some resolutions or legislative positions. I've heard no information from our current board to say that we shouldn't approve those, and so that's the agenda item this evening, and hopefully Monday, if we approve that, we'll send those on and support the GSB for the legislative positions.
Any questions?
I haven't read over the GS.
The next agenda item, Mr. Chairman, is next Monday. You'll need to elect a delegate and an alternate to the delegate assembly in June of 2000, for the meeting in June of 2013.
So we're going to sentence two people, is what you said.
However you'd like to say that, Mr. Chairman.
I think we've had 2 volunteers, so we're
Good.
in good shape.
Last item, Mr. Chairman, this evening is the approval of a joint resolution with the City of Cartersville School System and Bartow County School System. And essentially, the resolutions provide for allocation and distribution of proceeds from the title ad valorem tax between the Bartow County School System and the city. Mr. Pettit and Mr. White have been highly involved with each other in drafting this joint resolution. I point you to page 2, where it says tax shall be allocated and distributed. This is item 1 on page 2. Tax shall be allocated and distributed to the Bartow County School System, the City of Cartersville, Georgia school system according to the ratio of student enrollment in each district bears to the total student enrollment of all school districts of such county based on the latest full-time enrollment count every October. The superintendent of each school system shall provide to the tax commissioner the latest annual FTE as soon as practical upon the receipt, and the subsequent distribution shall be adjusted accordingly. So essentially, rather than every 5 years, we're asking that the tax commissioner get our enrollment and then distribute the money accordingly.
Questions?
That's the agenda for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to deal with real estate.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, if you raise your hand, please. There's 4 of them. This time we'll